Brian O'Halloran joins us for the first time this season on the Harbor One Hotline. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Hey, Greg. Good. How are you?
Great to have you on. And we're a couple series in here, and this team is 1-1, and unfortunately got swept in the other. Where are you? How are you feeling right now about your baseball club?
Well, I don't know how this always seems to work out this way, but I feel like I always come on after we get swept, so it's always fun to talk to you guys after a tough series. But
I think that's an issue you have with Heim and with Sam Kennedy. I think they're scheduling that way on purpose.
Exactly. I think that's how it works. But no, I mean, look, we're disappointed with how this last series went against Pittsburgh, but that's the beauty of baseball is we play again this afternoon and get a chance to start playing better. We've had our ups and downs, but we got to. I think Alex said it pretty well yesterday after the game. There's a lot of areas, or really all areas, we can keep getting better in, and that starts today.
I may have been mistaken when Sam was on last week. I got a little pushback, and I know there was also, I think, a pushback from Tom Warner when he was asked about this when it comes to payroll. I don't know why it's such a mystery, but where do the Red Sox rank right now currently when it comes to payroll in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of historical context, and then I'll answer your question. So basically, since this ownership took over 20 plus years ago, we've always been in the top 10, usually in the top 5. There have been years we've been 1. There, a couple of those years have been a lot of years we've been in the 2 through 6 range. We are projected right now in the top third, in the top 10 somewhere, and obviously that changes as you go along. And if we have a good season, we'll be adding, and so I expect that we'll kind of end up where we historically usually are.
But do you know where you are right now, or is that not something?
There is no right now.
There's no right now.
There's no right now because the way payroll projections work is it's not just what salaries you have on the books. It's what performance bonuses guys can be expected to or projected to attain. It's all kinds of other stuff that goes into it. But we are in the top 10. I will say that as far as like where we project to be. It would be false precision to say where this number, that number is 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever it is.
Okay.
Brian, when you look at, because I know you talk about projections and payroll, but you also can kind of have projections on what your team potentially could be. Is there anything positive that you can take away from the start of this season?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some positive individual performances for sure on the position player side. Duvall, Verdugo, Turner, Kike, Devers. And we've had our bullpen has thrown pretty well, although they've been obviously asked a lot of early because our starting pitching hasn't been what we expect for the most part. Although we've had a couple solid starts, but overall hasn't been good. The bullpen has done a nice job for the most part. So they're definitely, and I think also more broadly, this team has shown fight. Obviously the Pittsburgh series was not the best example of that, but in terms of how the Baltimore series went, we battled, we had good at bats, and generally that has been true this season so far. We've shown the type of lineup where it's a tough lineup to pitch to in terms of how we approach our at bats, and so there are definitely some positives, and I appreciate you asking about those. But at the same time, we know we need to get better in a lot of areas.
Just to clarify, when you say if you have a good season, we will add. Is that not? I would assume you'd add based on need. How do you define what a good when it's a good season and when you add?
No, what I mean by that is as we approach, like every team, as you approach the deadline. Although I understand last year was a little unusual with kind of more of a hybrid approach with where we were in the standings in terms of we were adding and subtracting at the same time and trying to thread a needle there. But in most years, if the team's in contention, I'm not necessarily only talking about the Red Sox, but in most years, teams that are in contention tend to add at the deadline, add players, which adds money to the payroll. That's what I meant.
Brian, Cora was on the station yesterday and said that the beginning of this season has felt, and he's kind of treated it like a learning experience. New guys in new positions, obviously the rule changes. Has that been your experience at the beginning of this season too? I know that, your roles are vastly different, but the game has changed.
Yeah, for sure. That's true. I mean, like you said, with the new rules, I think we're all in the industry, and whether you're in your jobs or fans or our jobs, Alex's job, it's different this year. And so we're learning different things about how those rules are affecting the game on the field. And also, as noted, we have quite a few new players, so we're learning about our own group.
Brian, today Chris Sale makes his second start of the season. Shaughnessy noted this earlier this week in discussing the Sale contract as potentially the worst in the history of Boston sports. But he noted that in 4 years since the new deal kicked in, Sale has made 12 starts, pitched 51 and a third innings, won 5 games, broken 3 bones, and had 1 Tommy John surgery. When this year is over, he'll have been paid $117 million for his efforts. How can you get this back on track? And has that contract extension precluded you guys from entering into another big money deal because of how this has turned out?
So, I mean, I think Chris would be and is the first to acknowledge that the last few years haven't gone well for both because of injury and just how it's gone. And again, today's a new day, and we all know Chris. The stuff is still there. The competitiveness is still there, and there's no reason why Chris can't be a really good pitcher for us. The rest of the season and beyond, and that's what we expect, and I know that's what he expects. But certainly, the contract hasn't gone as he had hoped, as we had hoped. And as to whether it affects things, of course, we have a budget every year, so just like every team. So when you allocate money, to a significant amount of money to a player, yes, of course, there's that eats up part of your budget, right? So, but I will also say, sort of following up on the previous conversation that we had earlier on this call about payroll, we always have enough resources to win, and if there's been players that we thought were good fits on good contracts, we've pursued those, and we have plenty of resources.
Brian O'Halloran is our guest on this week's Front Office Report. Brian, to your knowledge, has there been any resolution when it comes to the Yoshida home run ball situation?
To my knowledge, no, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I am not aware whether it has or hasn't, but I hope he gets that baseball.
Simple cash will fix it all.
Now, would that be something that the Red Sox would cover, or is that up to the player? How does that? Have you talked internally about how that works?
That hasn't been a focus for me personally, no. But I think there's usually some trades that go on and whatnot. So I'm sure our guys in the clubhouse and everyone involved is doing the best they can to get that baseball.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I had been told that Chaim lowballed the kid with a $100 gift certificate at the Cask and Flagon. Is that where the offer was, or no?
Yeah, there's probably some truth to that. I said we should go in higher, but Chaim and this Tampa Bay North stuff. So he offered the Cask and Flagon $100, and we haven't got it done yet. So we'll work on it.
All right.
Brian, when you start, I know you can't really be specific, but as you start to look at the season, what's the number of games where you start to say, okay, well, maybe we need help with our starting pitching, or maybe we need more bats in the lineup? It looks like, in the beginning of the season, the bats have been good. But is there a specific number that, you guys in the front office start to say, all right, maybe we should focus on potentially bringing help in at this position because we're X amount of games in?
Yeah, I think, of course, you're always evaluating, but you also don't want to, overreact to small samples. The way I think about it is usually after 2 months in, usually towards the end of May, that's when you have a big enough sample to have a pretty good idea of of what your team needs might be going forward, how things stack up. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Sam Kennedy on opening day told us that Chris Sale was your ace. Obviously, Curtis already asked you about Chris Sale and his performance thus far, but you guys look at other guys and think that maybe you have another one out there. Corey Kluber had a good outing yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think all our starting pitchers are very capable. Obviously, a lot of questions coming in with guys coming off of injury. But there's plenty of talent in that rotation, and we got a couple of younger guys coming soon with Whitlock and Bayo. Whitlock's pitching at Portland tonight as a tune-up to hopefully returning back to us potentially the next time through. And Bayo's not that far behind. Behind that, he threw 5 innings yesterday in extended spring training, and Paxton's a little behind him. So we got plenty of talent, and certainly the young guys, Bayo, Whitlock, Houck, all have like tons of potential, and we have good veterans, as you mentioned, Kluber and Paxton coming and Pavetta. So we have plenty of talent. We just got to go out and do it.
All right, Brian, we will talk to you again soon. Thanks for joining us this morning.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.